This is a story of a young talent living under constant pressure, from the teammates in Malmö who think he's too egoistic and only plays for himself, to the managers of Ajax who send him to the bench where he loses his self-confidence. From his father who tells the 18-year-old Zlatan, "You're nothing special until you've succeeded internationally," to the other professional challenges he's faced. Here's a complete and captivating story of how Zlatan became Zlatan. Hey there guys, what's up and welcome back to Footleaks. If you want to catch up on more juicy content like this in the future, then go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and do give us a like, as well as hit that bell icon. There are few players who carry themselves like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He's an all-rounder, a once-in-a-generation athlete, a supernova ego, and a seemingly immortal player. But he's also the game's preeminent hero character. Moreover, he's brash, clever, and brilliant. Also, he's playful, dark, and most importantly, sincere. In addition, he's certainly the last of his kind. Zlatan inhabits a territory all of his own. But how does he do this? A captivating piece of trivia that Zlatan has never actually finished the top 3 of the Ballon voting. Long before the Messi and Ronaldo duopoly, which is accounted for the last decade, there was always a Kaká, an original Ronaldo, or a Shevchenko ahead of him. And while he may have won league titles in Spain, Italy, France, and the Netherlands, he has never won the Champions League, and nor did he and the Swedish national team ever leave much of a mark in international football. And yet, somehow, that seems besides the point. When he arrived at the LA Galaxy in the spring of 2018, a full-page advert ran in the LA Times to announce his signing. "Dear Los Angeles," it read, "you're welcome." Later in the year, the credit card company Visa ran an advertising campaign targeted around the World Cup. In it, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who had retired from international football and was no longer part of the Swedish squad, mockingly promised to enter the tournament by himself in an attempt to save the fans from a World Cup without him. Both incidents were typical of brand Zlatan, and of course, a few eyes rolled. At around the same period, his image became entwined with the line iconography, which was becoming his trademark. And again, it's the kind of behavior that almost any other athlete would be ridiculed for. True, Zlatan is a role Ibrahimovic plays with a wink and a smile, but modern footballers are generally taught to treat the ego as kryptonite. It doesn't make their public attempts at humility any less hilarious, but that's still the rule. He, though, wears his self-regard like a crown, and the public loves him for it. And it's interesting to consider why or how it's that he's able to court that affection. Having emerged at Malmö and costing Ajax a record of 8.7 million euros, Ibrahimovic's ascent into the game's stratosphere began to accelerate. For 8 straight seasons, beginning in 2003 and ending in 2011, a team containing Ibrahimovic won a domestic league title. In chronological order, 1 with Ajax, 2 at Juventus, 3 at Inter Milan, 1 at Barcelona, and then finally 1 while on loan at AC Milan. The impression created and grew over time was twofold. One, of Ibrahimovic as a deliverer of guaranteed success, and secondly, of a transient player who was nobody's possession. At the time, mobility between top, sometimes rival clubs were not especially rare, particularly in Italy. Ibrahimovic, however, was not only one of the last players to thread that path, he was also unusually consistent. Everywhere he went, whichever colors he wore, he would score the same goals, endow the same success, and garnish his teams with the same blend of force and technical flair. That style is important too. Culturally, he's a player without lineage. Leo Messi's technical profile is very obvious of a South American raised in Spain. Similarly, Cristiano Ronaldo's Iberian trickery is enabled by the physicality preached as law in English football. The reality is never quite that neat, but in the abstract at least, most players have roots. Ibrahimovic does have leaps back to the concrete. His range of abilities is not typical of any particular region or area, nor of any philosophy. He grew up playing street and neighborhood football, where the premiums were expressions, strengths, and imagination that never changed. He never acquired any of the identifying big club gloss, and that makes him more of a global community. It allows him to belong to football as a whole. And his off-the-pitch personality, however much of an embellishment it may or may not be, reflects that. His range is extraordinary. Not just the number of products he endorses, but the different personalities he employs to be engaging and which are accepted as authentic. For Volvo, he hunted in the wilderness. As epithets played over a moody soundtrack, he stalked his prey with a cocked rifle. He dove into icy lakes, held his children in his mighty arms, and of course, drove fearlessly through the rocky terrain in the impenetrable fog. For Xbox, he sat on a white throne in a cavernous mansion, challenging opponents to games of FIFA, which he would play with one hand on the controller. It was self-depreciating and fun. For Nike, he was deadly serious as the star of their Dare to Zlatan series. He juggled footballs in a fiery hell. He defeated a blue-eyed tiger in the Arctic, and he dribbled a cannonball between lightning strikes in the desert, and many, many others in which he is mortal or otherwise. His autobiography is much maligned. It's often depicted as a work of fiction. In reality, it's a subtle portrait that describes the difficulties of life as a second-generation immigrant, the gift of unbelievable talent, and also the realities of unimaginable fame. Like much of his career, it shows Ibrahimovic as a fascinating contradiction. He is both a fantasy character from a bedroom wall and also the child of refugees forced to flee the war in the former Yugoslavia. And perhaps that great distance explains why he was able to be all things to the game all at the same time. Throughout his journey, Zlatan stays true to himself. When he finally succeeds in Italy, he also closes the door to his personal life. Football superstar Zlatan Ibrahimovic is an enigma, but in this story from his breakthrough years, he, for a moment, gives some glimpses into who he really is. When you first got here, I was like, oh, we've got to have this guy on the show, said the late night chat show king. And then I was looking at the LA Times and you took out an advertisement. A lot of athletes will take out a full-page ad. You see it when they leave. They thank the city for everything. But you took out one just as you started out, and it said, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." With this audacious local advertising campaign in a city home to some of the entertainment's biggest stars, Ibrahimovic was serving notice that he had arrived. A bubbling cauldron of ego and athletic excellence who could change everything, even in a city as used to charismatic leading men as Los Angeles. After conquering Europe piece by piece and leaving his mark on each of the countries, which became his home following his debut in Malmö in 1999, Zlatan was now graciously informing everyone that he had America firmly in his sights. With followers of around 80 million, Zlatan, with his hard work and passion, has truly shown the world how he became Zlatan. The movie trailer is proof of it. That about wraps up this video, which we hope you guys found enjoyable. And if you did, show us your appreciation by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel if you haven't already. Also, do remember to watch the 2 videos that are on your screen now or sometime later. And with that, I'll catch you guys later in another video. Bye now.